Ms. Thomas remained with the plan.
Your Honor, I think we've arranged a compromise here between us. We've agreed that you can consider the pictures that she's testified to. We would just ask you to disregard the writing around the peripheral, which purports to list or inventory the items that are missing.
I believe I can do that.
Well, Your Honor, with consent, I'd like to offer an evidence, plaintiff's exhibit 2. And this is a separate.
Just for the record, it looks like it's a series of pages with a photograph from, it was like consecutive from pages 10 through 18. Any objection?
No, sir. No, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Thomas? On this, you have on the first page you have a before and after picture. Do you have knowledge of whether any materials that are missing between the two pictures have been returned?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Do you know whether or not they have been returned?
I don't think they have, sir.
So you don't think they have, or you know?
Well,
they have?
as I said to you before, Mr. Hagler delivered materials up to your office that I did not inventory. And I have seen pictures of them in the boxes, but I have not been able to inventory.
Okay.
I don't think this address book is in there. I don't think that these tapes are in there. I don't think that they've been returned. Unless there's something that I don't know, which it's entirely possible. Because that was out of my, I can't testify to something that I did not accept or see.
Okay. Do you recall seeing an inventory that was jointly signed by Mr. Hagler and myself dated December 15th, 2010?
Yes.
Okay.
It was supposed to be lawyer to lawyer, from what I understood.
My question is, do you recall seeing it?
Yeah.
I'd like to hand you an item marked plaintiff's exhibit number 3. Is this the list you've seen before?
Yes, that's the list.
Your Honor, I move this list be committed as plaintiff's exhibit 3.
No objection.
And you recall looking through that list? And
Yes.
Okay. All right. Using that list to refresh your recollection, are you able to identify items that have not been returned on the first page of plaintiff's exhibit number 2?
Yes.
And what are those items?
This address book, this frame, these tapes. I think that's pretty much it.
That's all you can identify from that?
Yeah.
On the next page.
I don't have my glasses on. I didn't bring.
Bring.
Could you give me my?
Can I approach with the glasses?
I'm sorry.
Are they in your purse?
I think they are. Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
On the second page of plaintiff's exhibit 2,
Yes.
are you able to identify items that have not been returned on those pictures?
Yeah. This whole row here of tapes that include the Army of One and a number of other things is still missing.
Okay. On the next page, there's a picture of,
The clip reel, and that's still missing.
the next page 13.
That's still missing.
Can you identify the item in that picture?
It's a laptop like none I've ever seen before.
Okay. And are you able to determine whether or not that's still missing?
It's still missing.
On page 14, can you identify the item in that picture?
Yeah, that's still missing. It's a special Al-Qaeda training video.
Okay. And on page 15, can you identify anything that's missing, that's still missing from that picture?
The Mickey Mouse phone. I don't even know what's there. The Mickey Mouse phone is the only thing I can identify from that picture.
Okay.
Yeah, I think these tapes are still missing.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me ask you a question. On page 16, are you able to identify anything that's still missing based on this picture?
I think these tapes are still missing. Because the tapes that I'm seeing in this thing here are not those.
All right. Page 17, are you able to identify anything that is in this picture that's still missing?
Well, I really would like to lay my pictures side by side.
Okay.
I think it's these right here, and then I think it includes the stuff from the Wiggs case.
Oh, when you
I'll
say,
repeat that, man.
yeah,
You take these, it includes what?
These are file folders, and Mr. Idema keeps all his records from everything. And there was stuff in there from the Wiggs case.
So are you saying those file folders were missing?
Yes, sir.
and are they still missing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you estimate the volume of material that was taken, roughly?
I've been trying to picture that in my mind, like a truckload.
Like, well, what kind of truck? I mean, a big truck, like a semi, or like a little renter truck?
I don't know, a U-Haul truck.
Okay. After you were given, or after the court returned possession of the building to the plaintiffs, can you tell the court a little bit about what you were doing as a property manager with the building?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. After the property was returned to the plaintiffs, did you physically live or stay or sleep in the property? In the building?
Yes. I'm hesitant to say any of that because everything that I say these people use against me. and they have stalked, harassed me, and done all kinds of things to me at that building. So anything that comes out in court that I say, it ends up, it ends up hurting me. So yes, I stayed at the building.
Okay. You tell the court in detail what has happened while you're staying in the building with respect to irregular activity?
Sure. I want a tissue. It seems to happen before there's going to be a court proceeding, and I hear noises, and people have been on the roof. At one point, they tore the cover off of the heating and air conditioning unit, and I don't even know what day it was, they threw a rock through one of the windows and punched a hole in one of the plate glass windows. It's just, it's been a nightmare.
When you say they threw a rock through one of the windows, did that occur in a day this week?
Yes.
Have you noticed individuals stalking or surveying the premises and yourself?
Yes. I've taken pictures of some of them. I'm trying to find out who they are. They know everything, and they're posting it on the internet. They know who my visitors are. They posted license plate numbers, types of vehicles. These people are relentless and mean.
With respect to the building, beginning on October 31st, I'm sorry. Beginning on October 31st, has there been physical vandalism to the building? Or inside the building?
Inside the building. Oh, yeah. That was an odd thing. After Mr. Hagler took control of the building, he proceeded to punch a hole through the wall. So when I got control of the building, the drywall had a hole in it in the kitchen area, right through to the other side. And it just struck me as really peculiar. You get control of a property and then you damage it?
And then after the building was returned to the plaintiffs, you mentioned something about a heating and air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
Could you describe the extent of the damage to that unit? Or
Well, they ripped the cover off, which it enabled me to look from, standing on the ground right through to the sky. And it was very cold out, so the heat was rushing out, And it was a hole, right through the roof.
Could a grown man come down through that hole?
I don't know that, but the heating and air conditioning people said that it was vandalism and that it was breaking and entering. And that's why I entered a B&E report with the police. The police have not been very helpful to me. They've been treating me like a crazy person, but I think that this is all designed to make me into a crazy person.
Did you also have to defend yourself at some point by firing a flare gun?
Yes.
Can you tell the court about that incident?
Well, people are obviously watching me. I know they're watching me, and one evening I noticed that there was a pickup truck in the park, and I went out there and shined a flashlight on them, and they shined a flashlight back on me. And I said, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I live here." And I said, "I would like you to leave." And he goes, "Well, this is a public park." And I said, "Well, I'm having trouble with intruders. And if you don't leave, I'm going to call the cops." And I shot off my flare gun. I ran back inside, and then I came outside, and then there was another vehicle there, and I shot off the flare gun again and left. And then they both left. And then the police came to the door. Apparently, he called the police first. And he claimed that I not only shot the flare gun, that I shot a gun also.
When you say he, who are you referring to?
The fellow in the pickup.
Right.
And I said to the police officer that they have not been help when I've tried to get help from the magistrate, from the police department, from the sheriffs. No one has helped me. And this is a distress signal. The flare gun is a distress signal.
I have another question about property that was returned. Looking at plaintiff's exhibit number 3, there are a couple of paintings that are pictured in that.
Yes.
Could you explain to the court a little bit about the painting of the male and the female?
Oh, the king and queen of Thailand. And I think it was the king of Thailand that was on the counter, and there was a note on there. But the other one, I don't think was taken during this particular episode. So
do you recall seeing the Queen of Thailand picture in 450 Robinson while you were there?
no, I do not.
So is it true that Mr. Hagler returned the Queen of Thailand painting even though it was not in your initial inventory of items removed?
Yeah, it kind of made me laugh a little bit. Thinking he claims he's never been there before.
Well, I'm sure he'll talk about that. On or around November 4th or 5th, were there any women that approached the building while you were there? Around November 4th to, say, 8th, 2010,
4th through 8th.
right after the building had been returned?
I don't know.
You don't recall that?
I don't recall it. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I did have an incident. I did.
Can you tell the court about that?
Well, I was having trouble sleeping, and I was looking out the front window, and a lady that seemed to be somewhat intoxicated happened to be there, walking by, and saw me. And this is unusual because it's a tinted window, and it was dark, and I had not lit any of the lights. She should not have been able to see that I was there, but she saw that I was there. She asked me if I would help her. and she had her phone up to her ear. I thought she was on the phone, maybe she wasn't, but I didn't open the door because I'm afraid. And then she swore at me and then said, "Fuck you, bitch, you're not gonna help me anyway," and walked off. I don't know, it's just a lot of weird things that are going on, and it's weird.
Can you tell, let me back up. Do you recall whether there was a picture of Mr. Edema and any previous spouses in the building?
No. There's pictures of Jack and Victoria, and Jack and a number of his previous exes.
Do you recall if the picture of Jack and Victoria was taken?
I don't know, he's got so many pictures. I know that there's the only ones that seem to be left on the wall are Victoria, except for one of Norma Jean, which they probably didn't know was Norma Jean.
Can you tell the court about a website called jackademablogspot.com?
Say that again.
Could you tell the court about any website purporting to be belonging to Mr. Edema on a blogspot.com?
Yeah, that's at jackademablogspot.com. Yeah.
And
And it's all kinds of goofy stuff on there. Crazy, goofy, insane stuff on there. And it talks about Lynn Thomas at 450 Robinson, and publishes stuff on there about my visitors, and obviously they're watching. They have an intense interest at what's going on at 450 Robinson and Lynn Thomas, which cracks me up. I mean, I'm kind of a boring girl.
when you first entered into the building, was there any signs referring to Mr. Hagler early in October?
Say it again?
Were there any signs in the building referencing or talking about William Hagler
Yeah.
that were posted?
Oh, yeah. There was a sign on the outside of the building saying that locksmiths are hereby notified not to change the locks, that Hagler has changed locks several times and blah, blah, blah. The police, of course, paid no attention to that when this thing ended up happening.
One final question. When you first entered the building, I'll scratch that question. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Now, are you completing your evidentiary presentation on all your motions, other than the one for juror for tomorrow?
Your Honor, I would like to make an additional evidentiary presentation on my other motions tomorrow. And with respect to the evidentiary presentation on the motion to show cause, Mr. Hagler is under an order to appear and testify concerning this issue. So I would want to treat him as an adverse witness after Lynn is done with any cross-examination.
Cross?
Thank you, sir. Ms. Thomas, I believe you started out your testimony by saying that you are employed by Isabeau Dakota. Is that correct?
I'm not employed, sir.
You're not employed. You are managing the property at 450 Robinson Street, and
Yes.
you're doing that gratis.
Well, we have an agreement, but I'm not being paid for it at present.
And who is we? Is that Isabeau Dakota, or is
I have-
that Jonathan Keith Adema?
That's Jonathan Keith Idema.
What can you tell us about the management of Isabeau Dakota?
The management of Isabeau Dakota. Well, it was his father and his mother, and then his father passed away, his mother passed away, and then it came to him.
And
And
since,
there is a board and all that, but
well,
that's beyond the scope of what I know, really.
all right, well, I'm going to ask you this. Since before coming down to North Carolina to manage the property,
Yeah.
with whom at Isabeau Dakota did you deal?
Skip and Jack.
And Skip being Mr. Skip London, the attorney from Sanford,
Yes,
and Jack being Jonathan Keith Adema.
yes,
And you came here from Illinois to manage this property at their request.
yes.
And when did you first arrive in North Carolina, and in more particular, when did you first come to Fayetteville?
Early October, like October 5th or something like that.
Well, would it
We
have
drove
been-
down.
Would it have been after the 1st of October?
Yeah,
We're all talking about 2010.
2010.
To, prior to arriving here in North Carolina, had you met Mr. Adema?
Yes,
And when was the last time you saw him face to face?
2007,
And in 2007, where was it that you saw him face to face?
in Mexico.
And to your knowledge, since you saw him in 2007, has he been in the United States since?
I have no idea.
Objection relevance as to motion to show cause.
We're going to talk about what's missing and how she knows after a passage of time, Your Honor. Well, let me ask you this, Ms. Thomas. Since this lawsuit has been filed, to your knowledge, has Mr. Adema returned to the United States?
No,
Did Mr. Adema, to your knowledge, go to Afghanistan in 2004?
yes,
Do you personally know of any instance since 2004 where he has come back to the United States, or in more particular to Fayetteville?
no,
Prior to your accepting the position as property manager at 450 Robinson Street, who preceded you as property manager?
I think it was Rick Lawson.
Okay. Do you know how long Mr. Lawson had been property manager?
No, that's beyond my scope of,
All right. Do you
I just know he was before me.
Do you know Mr. Tom Bumbeck?
Yes, or I know of Tom.
And
Yeah,
had
I've talked to him on the phone.
All right. To your knowledge, had Mr. Bumbeck ever had access to the premises of 450 Robinson Street?
I don't know.
Do you know Victoria, commonly known as Victoria Littlewolf, Mr. Adema's former girlfriend?
Yeah.
Do you know whether or not she resided at 450 Robinson
Oh,
Street?
yeah, her clothes are
Let me
still
finish
there.
my question. After he left for Afghanistan,
Say it again?
do you know whether she resided at 450 Robinson Street after Mr. Adema departed for Afghanistan?
No, I don't know that.
And I take it then, since you didn't come down here until about the 5th of October of 2010, you absolutely have no idea how many people have come and gone from 450 Robinson Street since 2004.
That's probably true, yeah.
Now, you indicated that there is stuff that has appeared on a website, and I think you said crazy, goofy, insane blogspot stuff. Was that how you characterized it? Crazy, goofy, insane?
No, I think your steno is kind of slow there.
Well, you said that there was a blogspot that dealt
It's
with
jackidema.blogspot.com.
and you referred to it as crazy, goofy, And insane, did you not?
What is written there is.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you have a blog spot?
No.
Well, have you ever had a blog spot known as Keys Blog?
A long time ago I did. I only had it for a couple months and then I bought my own domain.
So you do not, as of October 1st, 2010, you do not have a blog spot known as
No.
Keys Blog?
No.
Do you remember when Mr. Edema and I came to the premises at 450 Robinson Street and returned some, well, they're not paintings.
Mr. Idema?
Pardon me, Mr.
No, I don't recall that, sir.
But let me answer your question.
Okay, sorry.
Do you recall Mr. Hagler and I coming to the premises at 450 Robinson Street and bringing in some paintings or some artwork, some framed items?
It was a numbered list of 5 items.
Do you recall us coming to 450 Robinson Street with those items?
Yes.
And it was on a Saturday, was it not?
Yes.
And who else was present when we brought those items?
2 of my construction workers.
And was one of your construction workers running a video camera?
We had 2 cameras set up that I told you about when we were outside.
Pardon me. My question was one of your employees running a video camera?
No, I was running them.
To video Mr. Hagler and I when we returned the goods?
No.
Did you have a digital camera yourself where you took photographs of Mr. Hagler and I when we came with the goods?
No.
Did you take a photograph of the license tag on my truck when we left?
When you left.
Okay. Why did you do that?
Because of what had been happening to me.
No.
I wanted to be familiar with the vehicle in case I saw it again, in case it might have been sitting across the street or behind the building or across the way this way or across the way this way.
But you did take a photograph of the license tag on my truck.
Yes, I did.
And that wasn't to find my address.
No, how would I do that?
I'm going to show you. You say you did not have Keys Blog as of October 1st, 2010?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 1. I'm going to ask you if this isn't a page off Keys Blog.
I don't know what it is.
You've never seen that before?
It looks like my YouTube.
Okay.
It looks like my YouTube, and that's what it looks like. I don't know.
May I see it again?
This is from my YouTube. This is not a blog spot, sir.
This is from your YouTube. And I show you the icon that says Hagler returns stolen goods.
Yes.
You put that on the web, and that was the videotape that was taken when Mr. Hagler and I came and delivered the framed items to
Yeah.
450 Robinson Street, was it not?
Yes, it was.
Now you, I believe you indicated that you at one time had a blog spot named Keys Blog. How do you spell key?
CAO.
So it looks like cow's blog or something like that to someone who doesn't know how it's pronounced. Is that correct?
I guess.
And you have used that blog, have you not, to be the spokesperson for Mr. Edema?
No.
Do you know the Fayetteville Police Chief, Mr. Tom Bergamine?
Yes.
And,
No, I don't know him.
Okay.
I know of him.
Did you post a reward on Keys Blog on behalf of Mr. Edema?
Yes.
Let me finish. On October 1st, 2010, offering a reward for the name of the person that opened the locks for Bill Hagler and for information concerning the arrest and conviction of Bill Hagler for burglarizing the building?
Yes.
When was the building burglarized?
Well, it was burglary under color of law.
Well, I'm talking about October 1st, not October 31st. I'm talking about 30 days earlier.
Oh.
I'm asking you when Mr. Hagler burglarized the building.
I don't know. You'd have to ask Mr. Hagler that.
Well, I'm going to show you what I've marked as Defendant's Exhibit 2 and
Okay.
ask you if this isn't, in fact, a posting from Key's blog.
Yes.
Did you post that?
Yes, I did.
Did you post it on October 1st, 2010?
I think so.
And then my question is, looking at that, as of October 1st, 2010, how did you know that Mr. Hagler had burglarized or changed the locks on the premises of 450 Robinson Street?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Yes, when you published that article, that blog, Key's blog,
Yes.
how did you know that the building at 450 Robinson Street had been burglarized by Mr. Hagler?
Good question.
Mr. Edema told you, didn't he?
Yes.
And then you put it out on your blog, and that's what you do with Key's blog, is you take information from Mr. Hagler and you publish it as true, do
This
you
is
not?
only one example, sir.
All right, let me ask you, does that blog also refer to Police Chief Tom Bergamine and have his picture on it?
That's what this is, sir.
I'm asking you, does that blog that I showed you, Defendant's Exhibit 2, does that have Chief of Police Bergamine's photograph on it?
Yes.
And does it allege that Mr. Hagler has been blackmailing our police chief with evidence of marital infidelity?
Yes.
Where'd you get that information?
Mr. Idema.
You don't have any idea whether that's true or not, do you?
No, I have a good idea it is.
Well, you certainly don't have any knowledge except Mr. Idema telling you that it's true, do you?
I don't know. I've looked at 10 pages of aliases that he's used, and I've seen his criminal record. I know that he was stalking me in the hotel that I was staying at. I have an idea of the type of person he is, sir.
Okay. But I guess your answer is no, you don't have any evidence that he was blackmailing the chief of police.
Objection to the form of that question, Your Honor.
Is that correct? You do not have any evidence that he was blackmailing the chief of police?
I don't have evidence.
And you don't have any evidence that he broke into 450 Robinson Street and had a locksmith change the locks either, do you?
Well, I have a recorded conversation with the locksmith who was asked by Mr. Hagler to change the lock.
And that
Yes,
was,
I have evidence.
And that was after the title to the building had changed to Mr. Hagler.
No, that was before.
Okay. Well, did you have that recording on October 1st, 2010, when that blog was published?
You know, I have to check the date on this because I don't know if that's
Well,
true.
the date is on it. Look at it.
Yeah, but I don't have to believe what you are putting in front of me, sir.
Okay. Let me ask
I'd have to look at my blog and verify that this is the right date.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I believe you've already testified, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this breaking and entering or this burglary or whatever it was with the locks being changed, you don't have a date on which that occurred.
Well, I don't know how many times it occurred.
And with one...
And that's from before me. It could have been according to Rick Lawson. It could have been according to a number of people. It's
So it
before
may
my
have-
time.
May have happened once, it may have happened 20 times.
Could have.
And over the time that Mr. Edema was gone and out of the country, no telling how many times somebody has gotten inside that building. Mr. Hagler or anybody else, is there?
I'm just here to testify to the time that I was here, sir.
Oh, okay. I asked you about that.
What I witnessed, what I took pictures of, what I inventoried.
And let's talk about what you inventoried. Now, you have furnished a couple lists of property. One we put into evidence, and you previously furnished a list of property that you believed was missing, did you not?
Yes.
And you said that, and when were those lists of property made?
I'd have to look through my email because the one that you've got in front of you, I just made it up this morning.
Well, let me ask you this. Was any list of property that you had made prior to the time that possession of the building went back from Mr. Hagler to you?
I'm sorry, I didn't follow the question.
Okay. Well, you said you inventoried the property as well as photographing it.
It was a photographic inventory.
Ah.
Do you understand what that is?
So you photographed the property is what you meant to say, but there was no inventory.
It's what insurance calls a photographic inventory.
All right, look, but I realize it gets a little bit heated, but let him finish his question.
Okay.
Then answer.
Okay.
I take it then, you made no written log or inventory of the items that were in the photograph.
That's right.
And I noticed that many of the items in the photographs appear to be ring binders and folders and file boxes, things of that nature. Did you actually open those folders, boxes, things, and make a list of the items that were contained therein?
No.
So the only knowledge...
Not all of them. Some of them.
You mentioned the Al-Qaeda tapes, and you said the Al-Qaeda tapes were missing. Well, how did you know they were Al-Qaeda tapes?
Because it said it on the thing.
You never viewed any tapes.
I viewed some of the VHS ones.
Well, tell us what you viewed when you took your inventory. Tell us what you plugged in and viewed and had a look at.
I saw the closing arguments of the Wiggs case. I saw the Army of One. I saw the Al Qaeda tapes for the. They were like cut. And excuse me. Then there was like a narrative of what there was. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay.
It was terrorists taking hostages and doing different things, and then it was different news commentators commenting on what it was, and.
Well, let's talk about one thing you said you saw was the argument from the Wiggs case, which was tried here in this courthouse.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And when did you receive that?
When did I receive it?
Yeah.
It was in the office.
Well, now,
I didn't receive it.
Mr. Edema furnished that recording to you after this case was initiated, did he
No,
not?
it was in the office.
And you played it.
Yeah,
Why'd you play that?
because I had heard so much about you.
None of it good, I take it.
Well, there was some good.
Well, during the time that you have been at 450 Robinson Street, you have actually resided there?
Yes.
And 450 Robinson Street is not a residential neighborhood at all, is it?
Well, there is behind me. There's some very nice neighbors
Well,
back
but
there.
Robinson Street's a commercial street, is it not?
Well, it faces Hubbard.
Yeah, and Hubbard Pipe and Supplies across the street, and Mayflower Storage is
On
nearby.
the one side, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really kind of a warehouse supply wholesale area, is it not?
Yeah, not far from the museum.
And right down Blount Street, a block or so away, the railroad tracks and the switch yard.
Yeah.
And there are bums and winos that roam through that neighborhood all the time, are there not?
No, I haven't seen any.
Well, since October, is the residence, to your knowledge, at 450 Robinson Street the only one that was vandalized through the air conditioning unit?
In this way, perhaps. I
And
mean,
you-
this was destruction of property, not to get in any copper coil.
Well, how do you know it wasn't to get copper
Because
coil?
the guy who repaired it told me that.
The copper coil, I take it, wasn't missing, that they didn't get it, whoever it was.
They just ripped the cover off.
and then left. And you've heard people up there 3 different times?
Many times.
Now, you testified to that, and Mr. Nahart has asked you about that on direct examination. Do you have any evidence that Mr. Hagler was ever on the roof of that building? Ever? Anytime, ever?
No.
Do you have any evidence that Mr. Hagler sent somebody over there to tear the cover off the air conditioning unit on top of the building?
I guess you could call it circumstantial.
Because this business was going on with the lawsuit. So you presumed it was him?
Oh, yeah, because Penny would call and leave me messages and leave stuff on my YouTube channel and send me emails, and all this stuff is going on at around the same time. They're all together.
Now, Penny, that's who?
That's the girl that signed the building over to Bill for 10
And,
years.
and do you know who the president of Isabeau, Dakota was as of the last listing with the North Carolina Secretary
You
of
mean
State?
until she resigned in July?
No,
or
I'm
August or
asking you,
when?
listen to my question.
Okay.
My question was, do you know who the last named president of Isabeau, Dakota was with any filing with the North Carolina Secretary of State?
How would I know that?
Well, I know a lot of things. I'm just asking if you know that.
No,
You do
don't
not
know
know. Okay. Do you know whether or not Mr. Edema and Penny ever went through a ceremonial marriage in Mexico?
I know she set up a Mayan ceremony.
And after that ceremony, did he refer to her as Penny Edema?
I have no idea.
With regard to the items that were returned, well, you are aware that after you filmed Mr. Edema and I, when we bought property, pardon me, Mr. Hagler and I, when we went to return property, that after you did that, that I refused to take any more property to you, that we insisted on taking it to Mr. Nahart's office.
But it was supposed to be lawyer to lawyer, was my understanding. Mr. Hagler went up there.
Well, you are aware that after that, I declined to take anything
So
over
it
there.
just
and we
keeps changing.
Okay,
sorry.
Make it easy. If you can answer the question,
Okay, and
and
wait.
then if you want to explain your answer, then explain your
Okay, all right.
You are aware of that. But we
Okay.
decided that nothing more would come to 450 Robinson Street, that it would all go to Mr. Nahart's office.
Okay.
Now, is it your testimony here today that those items that were delivered to Mr. Nahart's office, you have not inventoried?
Right.
So how are you deciding what was returned and what was missing?
Because he gave me a list, and he gave me pictures of what he got.
Mr. Nahart prepared some things for you to testify from.
Yes.
But you don't know if that's correct and accurate or not.
Right.
And you don't know whether that is all the items that were returned or not.
That's right.
Well, before we get into him having to recuse himself, is there a contention that some other items have been returned?
Yes, well, as a matter of fact, yes, and I'll ask you that right now. You were here, were you not, when 2 items were returned in this courtroom?
The phone and the,
There was a checkbook and a red telephone, was there not?
Right.
And you saw that actually being returned?
oh yeah, and I took it back with me.
No further questions. We would offer what have been marked as Defendants Exhibit 1 and 2 into evidence as Defendants Exhibit 1 and 2.
I realize we're in the plaintiff's case at this point. You have any objection being offered and received this time? And I know we don't have a jury, so it's not gonna make a lot of difference about the last argument, but if it's received, he has offered evidence.
We are going to preserve an objection as to authenticity as the dates, because I'm not sure that the witness has testified and given the dates authenticity, so I object to that extent.
I can see in it 1 and 2, please.
Oh, I don't know. These? Okay.
I'm going to receive the subject to the objection as to the authenticity as to the dates contained there.
We have no further questions, Ms. Thomas, at this point.
And as I said, is there a dispute about what's been returned now? Are we?
I guess so.
Well, I wasn't aware of a dispute at that point. The exhibit, I think it's Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, has a joint signature of myself and Mr. Hagler as to the list prepared there.
Now, I'm not disputing what she may know or may not have been. We're talking about actually what's been returned.
So I'm not aware that there is a dispute, and I guess I'd have to listen to Mr. Carter explain if there is one.
Gentlemen, after we conclude for today, in about 9 minutes, maybe you can resolve what has been returned, and you can stipulate to if it's not been already offered in that. What hadn't been returned, not whether there's going to be a dispute as to what hadn't been returned, but what has been returned by Mr. Hagler, Mr. Carter, to you or to
Mr. Hagler's going to testify that everything's been returned. Everything went out of that building has been brought back.
Well, I'm talking about particular items. I'm not talking about the generality of everything.
Oh, I don't know what particular items they claim is missing.
No listing of it?
Well, it's just what she went through just now. I don't know what she's claiming is missing from there, and we certainly don't have a item-by-item inventory of what was returned.
All right. Like I said, a bone of contention then.
Okay.
This is back with the plaintiff on redirect.
With respect to the label, about, I think it was Defendant's Exhibit 2.
That was the police shoot.
What's that?
That was the police shoot.
Which was, okay, I'm sorry.
One was Hagler and me.
Okay.
Two was the
With
police.
respect to Defense Exhibit number 1, there's a reference there to Mr. Hagler returning stolen goods and Mr. Carter returning stolen goods. In fact, were they not returning stolen goods?
Well, that calls for a conclusion objection.
Sustained.
Okay. Did you believe that the goods they were returning had been stolen?
Yes.
And what was the basis for that belief?
Because he knew from the Wiggs case that that building was IDEMA's. He fraudulently signed it on behalf of Mr. Hagler, and it was a fraudulent document. The deed was fraudulent. They got in under fraudulent pretenses, and then they took the stuff in there that was obviously Jack's, that obviously, IDEMA's. There was no question as to who owned it. And I was pleading with the police and everyone else saying, these are fraudulent documents. And then they go, well, it's a civil matter. And I said, you're going to let this guy take this stuff out of here? That's burglary. At home in Chicago, they call this burglary. And the cops are standing there just letting it happen. I just couldn't believe it.
Again, are you aware, on the basis of your personal knowledge, of items that have been taken from 450 Robinson Street since, or between the time period of October 31st through November 2nd, and not returned?
Yes.
And those are the items that you described and referred to during your testimony?
Yes.
And are there other items that you didn't refer to in your testimony?
I think so. Yeah. I need to go over this. This is a very difficult thing to do. From a picture inventory without a listed inventory. To create a list out of it, it's sort of like taking a picture of your kitchen and then, itemize everything that's in your kitchen or everything that's in your life. I mean, it's a hard thing to do.
Okay. But the pictures you took were your best attempts to do so
Yeah.
At the time?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Now, when you were asked about the basis for your belief that Mr. Hagler had burglarized or been in the building prior to your arrival, you said there were a number of circumstances, or the basis of your knowledge was circumstantial. Can you talk about some of the circumstances that made you believe that Mr. Hagler was in the building prior to your arrival,
Well,
unauthorized?
the return of the Queen of Thailand was a primary example. I mean, the Queen of Thailand was on an easel in the Wiggs case in the back of the room. I didn't see it when I entered the building. I never took a picture of it. And yet, when we asked for him to return stuff, he returns the Queen of Thailand. I mean, it just was kind of like, it just kind of made me laugh. It's kind of like admitting that he'd been there before and admitting that he's took the stuff before.
And was the sign referring to Mr. Hagler another one of the circumstances?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like an understanding after everything that I'd seen around the building, the warning signs that don't let Hagler, if you're a locksmith and Hagler hired you, go away. Don't do it.
Okay. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Right. Very briefly, Your Honor, and I mean very briefly. You've mentioned this before, the fraudulent deed. And in regard to the fraudulent deed that Mr. Hagler got, when that deed was made, as of record, who was the president of Isabeau, Dakota?
I don't know.
Okay. Are you saying that the signature on that deed was false or forged?
Well, I know that there is no such person as Penny Idema. And Penny Alisi Idema was on there. And to my knowledge, they never married.
I have no further questions.
Any follow-up, please, redirect?
Are you an attorney?
No, sir.
Do you have any other basis of knowledge as far as the legal effect of the resignation of a president of the company?
Say again?
Do you have any basis for any type of legal knowledge as to...
Basis for legal knowledge.
Well, he was asking you...
We'll stipulate she does not.
Okay. All right, we'll stipulate that she doesn't have legal knowledge as far as what makes someone a president, and I think we'll move on for the day.
Anything else? Looks like we're gonna be going on, because I know we can get into the interrogatory, we're gonna have to take them one by one unless we can agree on some things, we get to the issues, as we discussed in chambers. I've indicated I've got a criminal matter, it's only gonna take about 15 or 20 minutes to do it at 11. So if we're not through by 11 in the morning, we will be stopping so I can take care of a criminal matter.
Your Honor, I'm not sure what your schedule is this week. Mr. Stark did want to be down here for this this hearing, but he had other commitments and a doctor's appointment he had to be for, and he would be available to be present, I believe, starting in the afternoon tomorrow. And I'm prepared to go ahead if we want to in the morning, but I would like for him to have an opportunity to be present for the remainder of the hearing.
We'll be starting back at 9:30.
9:30.
And we'll go till we complete it, with me stopping at 11. So
That's the way it
if he's
is, Your Honor.
available by then, he's available, otherwise he won't be available.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And we'll stand in recess till 9:30 in the morning.
All rise. Oh, yes, oh, yes, oh, yes. This honorable court is now recessed till tomorrow morning, 9:30. I say the statement is honorable court. You are dismissed.
This is gonna be locked up.